Random House Audiobooks presents H is for Homicide by Sue Grafton. Read for you by Judy, Kaye.
H is for homicide. Looking back, it's hard to remember if the low morale at California Fidelity originated with the death of one of the claims adjusters or the transfer of Gordon Titus, an efficiency expert from the Palm Springs office, who was brought in to bolster profits. Both events contributed to the general unrest among the CF employees, and both ended up affecting me far more than I would have imagined, given the fact that my association with the company had been, up to that point, so loose. In checking back through my calendar, I find a brief penciled note of the appointment with Gordon Titus, whose arrival was imminent when Parnell was killed. After that first meeting with Titus, I jotted S.O.B. extraordinaire, which summarized my entire relationship with him. I'd been gone for 3 weeks doing a consumer investigative report for a San Diego company concerned about a high-level executive whose background turned out to be something other than he'd represented. The work had taken me all over the state, and I had a check in my pocket for beaucoup bucks by the time I wrapped up my inquiry on a Friday afternoon. I'd been given the option of remaining in San Diego that weekend at the company's expense, but I woke up inexplicably at 3 a.m. with a primal longing for home. By 3:35 a.m. I'd checked out, and 10 minutes later I was on the 405 northbound heading for Santa Teresa in my new, used VW Bug, a 1974 sedan, pale blue, with only one wee small ding in the left rear fender. Classy stuff. At that hour, the Los Angeles freeway system is just beginning to hum. Traffic was light, but every on-ramp seemed to donate a vehicle or two, people pouring north to work. I always feel an affinity for others traveling at such an hour, as if we were all engaged in some form of clandestine activity. A glance in my rear-view mirror showed a woman in the convertible behind me emoting with vigor, belting out a lip-sync solo as the wind whipped through her hair. I felt a jolt of pure joy. It was one of those occasions when I suddenly realized how happy I was. Life was good. I was female, single, with money in my pocket and enough gas to get home. I had nobody to answer to and no ties to speak of. I was healthy, physically fit, filled with energy. As usual, I'd forgotten how often surges of goodwill merely presage bad news. The usual 5-hour drive from San Diego was condensed to 4.5, which put me back in Santa Teresa at a little after 8. I was still feeling wired. I decided to hit the office first, dropping off my typewriter and the briefcase full of notes before I headed home. I expected the parking lot behind my office building to be deserted. It was Saturday morning, and the stores downtown wouldn't open until 10. It was puzzling, therefore, to realize that the area was swarming with people, some of whom were cops. My first thought was that maybe a movie was being shot, the area cordoned off so that the cameras could roll without interruption. Then I spotted the crime scene tape, and my senses went on red alert. Since the lot was inaccessible, I found a parking place out at the curb. I removed my handgun from my purse and tucked it into my briefcase in the back seat, locked the car doors, and moved toward the uniformed officer who was standing near the parking kiosk. He turned a speculative eye on me as I approached, trying to decide if I had any business at the scene. "May I help you?" I stared up at the 3-story stucco building, which was mostly retail shops on the ground floor, businesses above. "Hi, what's going on? I work in that building, and I was hoping to get in." The hazel eyes did a full survey, and I could see the caution kick in. "May I see some identification?" "Sure." I handed him my billfold, flipped open to my California driver's license, with the photostat of my PI license visible in the slot below. I've been out of town and I wanted to drop off some stuff before I headed home. I'd been a cop myself once, but I still tend to volunteer tidbits that are none of their business. His scrutiny was brief. "Well, I doubt they'll let you in, but you can always ask," he said, gesturing toward a plainclothes detective with a clipboard. I still didn't have a clue what was going on, so I tried again. "Did someone break into the jewelry store?" "Homicide." "Really? Who's been assigned to the case? Lieutenant Dolan by any chance?" "That's right. You might try the mobile crime lab if you want to talk to him. I saw him head in that direction a few minutes ago." "Thanks." I crossed the parking lot, my gaze flickering to the paramedics who were just packing up. The police photographer and a guy with a notebook doing a crime scene sketch were measuring the distance from a small ornamental shrub to the victim, whom I could see now lying face down on the pavement. The shoes were man-sized. Someone had covered the body with a tarp, but I could still see the soles of his Nikes. Lieutenant Dolan appeared, heading in my direction. When our paths intersected, we shook hands automatically, exchanging benign pleasantries. With him, there's no point in barging right in with all the obvious questions. Dolan would tell me as much or as little as suited him in his own sweet time. Lieutenant Dolan's in his late 50s, not that far from retirement from what I've heard. Balding, baggy-faced, wearing a rumpled gray suit. He's a man I admire, though our relationship has had its antagonistic moments over the years. He's not fond of private detectives. He considers us a useless, though tolerable breed, and then only as long as we keep off his turf. As a cop, he's smart, meticulous, tireless, and very shrewd. "Who's the guy?" I said finally. "Don't know. We haven't ID'd him yet. You want to take a look?" He jerked his head, indicating that I was to follow as he crossed to the body. I could feel my heart start to pump in my throat, the blood rushing to my face. In one of those tingling intimations of truth, I suddenly knew who the victim was. Maybe it was the familiar tire-tread soles of the running shoes, the elasticized rim of bright pink sweatpants, a glimpse of bare ankle showing dark skin. I focused on the sight with a serious sense of déjà vu. What happened to him? "He was shot at close range, probably sometime after midnight. So far, we don't have the weapon or any witnesses. His wallet's been lifted, his watch, and his keys." He leaned down and picked up the edge of the tarp, pulling it back to reveal a young black man wearing sweats. As I glanced at the face in side view, I pulled a metal plug, disconnecting my emotions from the rest of my interior processes. "His name is Parnell Perkins. He's a California Fidelity Claims Adjuster, hired about 3 months ago. Before that, he worked as a rep for an insurance company in Los Angeles." "You have family here in town?" "Not that I ever heard of. Vera Lipton, the CF claims manager, was his immediate supervisor. She'd have his personnel file." "What about you?" I shrugged. "Well, I haven't known him long, but I consider him a good friend." I corrected myself into past tense with a small jolt of pain. He was really a nice guy, pleasant and capable, generous to a fault. He wasn't very open about his personal life, but then neither am I. I don't think he'd really had time to form many close relationships. Lieutenant Dolan was making penciled notes. He asked me some apparently unrelated questions about Parnell's workload, employment history, hobbies, girlfriends. Aside from a few superficial observations, I didn't have much to contribute, which seemed strange to me somehow, given the sense of distress I was feeling. I couldn't take my eyes off of Parnell. His eyes were open, staring blankly at the asphalt. What is life that it can vanish so absolutely in such a short period of time? I checked the slot where Parnell usually parked his car. I wonder where his car went. He has to drive in from Colgate, so it should be here someplace. Might have been stolen. We'll see if we can locate the vehicle. I don't suppose you know the license number offhand. Actually, I do. It's a vanity.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?